thank you. Welcome, everybody. I will call this meeting to order of the Policy and Finance Committee on November 18th, 2024. Originally, when we called this, we had a couple other items, but it's gotten condensed. They weren't quite ready, but I don't think anyone ever complains about a meeting that's too short. So this shouldn't take too long, but we definitely want to get this, our one agenda item discussed. This will be our last in-person meeting for this year. We may need a December meeting, and if we do, it will be virtual only, but that's really only if something comes up that staff or someone says, hey, could you guys really please take a look at this because I'd like to get it on a late December agenda or even early January, have it queued up. So we're open to that, but if we do need that, we'll just keep that a virtual only and take a look at whatever that issue or issues are if they arise. So nothing on the calendar yet, but so just to let staff know, if you really do need something, let us know. We're happy to assemble quick enough to do something in December if we need to. So this is definitely our last in-person and might be our last meeting of the year. So with that, if you've had an opportunity to look at the minutes from October, I would accept any motion if anyone has one.
Move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, our item for today is regarding the common consumption area. When we originally wrote this, we did not include the area in front of the Topeka Performing Arts Center. Since then, as their board has discussed it and taken a look at it, and they have a new executive director, they've said, hey, you know what would be awesome is if we could be in the common consumption area for a variety of reasons. And it makes a lot of sense, but staff had to kind of crunch it together and come up with a map and take a look at some of the logistics of it. And so with that, I will turn it over to staff to talk about that.
Okay, well, City Attorney Amanda Stanley, and with me today is an attorney in my office. If you haven't met her, Brandy Roy Bachman. So she's worked really hard on this, so I'll let her answer a lot of questions. But I want to give you a little bit of the overview of where we've struggled a lot. Brandy spent a lot of time looking out the window at streets and trying to figure out where do we draw those lines. And we got to the point where we have just some policy questions that you as the policymakers need to answer for us. When we looked at the original zone, we realized there needed to be cleanup anyway. When it comes across 4th Street, it originally said it went to Quincy and down, except Quincy doesn't go through down, so it really needs to come over to Monroe, is what we decided, because it goes down an imaginary street right now in the middle of the building. So we needed to do some cleanup anyway. So as we tried to look at how do we include TPAC, I think what we determined would be the easiest would be to have it go down 4th Street, all the way down to Monroe to 8th Street and come across TPAC. That would allow all of the areas that TPAC wants, so that at intermission they could go down the side, they could set up picnic tables, they could take their drink outside and come back in. Where it becomes a policy decision though is while that makes it easiest on the line, that would also mean the City Hall parking lot between the district court and City Hall would be included. And so that's where it gets into policy decisions of, right now our hours are pretty much all the time for common consumption. So is that okay if during Monday through Friday somebody walked with a beverage from Iron Rail down in front of City Hall? Do we have concerns about that? Do we not? Same with district court. You would still have to follow all the rules of the common consumption and buy it at a legitimate place and have a legitimate cup. It's not like it would just open it up to anything. Some of the advantages might be if the city wanted to open its parking lot up at some point for food trucks or other events, it would be in the common consumption zone already and we wouldn't have to do anything special. The way it's drawn on your map is excluding that area. So while the easiest would be to come up Monroe, if you didn't want to include City Hall and Municipal Court, Brandy has figured out a line that kind of goes through the building, and I'll let her explain that a little bit.
Yes, so currently what we have here represented in the map is that the common consumption area comes from 6th Street down Quincy, basically cuts across Quincy Street, right in through the parking lot, and essentially divides the City Hall and TPAC building in half, comes out the other end through the sidewalk to Monroe Street, and then from Monroe to 8th. And so you have this, just the TPAC area, the entire TPAC area included in common consumption, but City Hall is excluded from that.
It becomes a little hard to mark that because we do have to mark it with definitive boundaries for the state of Kansas. We talked about some ways that we could do that, but it gets a little tricky because we're marking it through the middle of a building. So how that works exactly, we're not positive.
And the, the northwest boundary, of course, it's cutting across Quincy Street, in the middle of Quincy Street, and then right through, like I said, it's a parking lot, and that would also maybe a little difficult to mark. And we'll maybe get some thoughts on City Council's thoughts on making the boundary the middle of Quincy instead of at a, a natural, like a sidewalk or end of a street.
Monroe gives the more natural border, because we wouldn't be going through the middle of the building, and we could easily mark those on the sidewalks, but then the policy choices, that would bring in all of the City Hall and City Hall parking lot.
What's the negative of having, I'm sorry, are we there
you're
for
good.
questions
Is your
yet?
mic on? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
apologize.
Yep, you're good.
Should not have interrupted that way. I want to make sure. It sounded like you were okay at that point. What is the cons of just having it go not through the building but down Monroe? Like the actual cons? Because I mean, you could say, oh, well, folks will do X, Y, Z, but how often will people be? I mean, we're worried about red Solo cups at the end of the day. We don't want that stuff around. But
already illegal.
if somebody's, so if somebody's doing it, then I don't see it.
I mean, they're just hypothetical cons. The hypothetical con is somebody's gonna walk from Iron Rail down to Municipal Court drinking, or the look of it. I don't think either of us think those are very probable scenarios.
No.
So, yeah, and I think one of the things that we've talked about too, and that we all know this, but people forget it sometimes, is all the other laws apply, right? Like,
Right.
And buildings can still set their standards. So City Hall is going to have a sign up that says, if you happen to walk down 7th or Monroe, you can't bring it in, toss it in the trash before you enter City Hall. So, I mean, I personally don't have any issue just making it go from that, from Quincy to 8th, then 8th all the way down Monroe to 4th, and just including City Hall, the District Court. I mean, I guess as a courtesy, if we want to at least notify Shawnee County that we're planning to do this, and if they have an objection, to let us know before we vote on this.
Yeah.
If not, then we can always make it, then my suggestion is we could always just make it 7th Street, cut it from 7th, Monroe, so that includes City Hall, and basically just corner out. I mean, I don't think they're going to have an issue for the same rules. They even have, just like we do, guards who are going to say no. But if for some reason I don't want to, the courtesy of notifying them we're about to include it in the common consumption area.
Yeah, and their county offices are already included in the current one. And
Yeah.
They don't have any issues with it, so we can notify them that the court.
But I agree with you folks. I think making Monroe, it makes it the easiest for everybody, including the person who's walking down. Because the truth is, we all know there's really, I mean, the off chance that someone's going to even walk all the way from 4th all the way out to Monroe just to come back to TPAC is so unlikely, unless they're lost. But
Right.
Yeah.
This also would loop in like the town site plaza down there where they do occasionally do events. The way, I think it was originally supposed to be included, but the way it got drawn, it kind of got drawn through the middle of their plaza last time.
BP, do we need to worry about them?
No, because they can't sell either. Because they don't
Correct.
have the right liquor permit. So
Right, so
yeah.
they got their malt beverage.
Yeah.
Really, so
Yeah. So really, yeah, those would be the only 3 new people we're including. Well, maybe correcting the town site error, but then including basically 2 government buildings and a gas station. And
Yeah.
I think we're all good with that.
I think so.
Any questions or concerns, Michelle?
No, I'm leaning towards Monroe also.
Yeah, it just seems the
But
simplest.
We
Let's do
should
it.
definitely contact them.
Just give them a heads up that we're voting on it. And if they don't like it, they'll tell us. And I don't think they're gonna mind. But if they do, that's an easy fix. I think we just include everything you've shown us here, but make it 7th. That way if people do cut down 7th and they go a little too far, they can just still walk over and be okay and not get in trouble. Just draw we'll just have to add some arrows to those little common consumption signs, like stay this way, then go back, right?
It does open the parking lot up for some additional uses at some point if people wanted to.
Yeah. Great. Let's see. Is that alleviate your policy concerns of where
does.
people can and can't.
We just didn't want to be the people that drew the government buildings in without.
That's right. Yeah, you know.
That's cool. We'll take that heat.
Well, we can handle it.
Yeah.
This won't be a reason they're mad at government. I promise. If we expand the common consumption area, they'll be mad when we stop them at the door and they can't bring it into the city council meetings. But that's a different problem.
I can hear it now.
Anything you need to add on this, city manager? Just want to make sure.
No, thank you, Chair. Appreciate you.
Okay. Well, I told you this would be short and sweet.
I love it.
Is there any other items anyone wants to discuss before we call it a day? As far as I know, we're caught up to date. ARPA is pretty much done at this point. Actually, I will ask an ARPA question. You don't have to tell us how. I guess I really just want to make sure that whatever steps we need to take to make sure we're securing those final dollars that may not be expended, particularly by the Grocery Oasis Group, are being accounted for in the way that ensures we're protecting those dollars.
Yeah, I'll send them a follow-up email to the committee afterward. It's just simple.
Okay. Yes, all right. So the answer from the crowd was yes. And I just want to make sure we're good so that if we get if they ask us or reach out to us, we can promise them that that has been addressed and we can stick to our notifying the world that there are no ARPA funds to come asking for at this point. They've all been properly accounted for. So. All right. With that, is there anyone here who had public comment? I don't think I see anyone in the room. Not sure there's anyone online. Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the body? You? Sweet. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good Thanksgiving. We are adjourned.